Welcome back to another episode of our Copart Tacoma rebuild. I am doing some wet sanding right now on the recent paint we just did. As I mentioned in the last episode, I wish I fanned out more because you can see I blended the paint pretty nicely right here. This is old paint, this is new paint, and it blends through pretty nice. You can see the line just barely right there, but that will wet sand away with no problem. Areas like this, I went a little too heavy and it's not going to blend that well. You can see on the tailgate where I've begun to wet sand, I've wet sanded away anything that we can feel, any lip is gone. Over here though, you can definitely see the line. Again, that's where I went too heavy with the paint. A little disappointed, but not really the end of the world. This is also going to show it's just been wet sanded and it didn't really blend together because, again, I didn't leave enough area to fan out. So, not thrilled, but what are you going to do? It's a 2005 quarter-million-mile Tacoma. It doesn't need to be perfect. It's not a show car. I'm definitely still learning, and I hope you guys are learning along the way as well. I'm going to get at it, keep going with the 800 grit sandpaper. I also have 1000 grit, 1500, 2000, and 3000 grit. We'll take it down probably to 2,000 or 3,000. From there, it'll just be buffing and polishing, and should have a half-decent paint job here, and we can finally get the fender flares back on. That's kind of the goal for today. Get the paint dialed in, get the fender flares back on, and then we can finish up this tailgate and the rear bumper. This is after 800 grit and 1500 grit sandpaper right here. You can hardly even see that was repainted. You have to catch the light just right to see it. And then you can see that's kind of bad blending, and then this is just not good blending at all. This is the second thing we're going to be working on while I take a quick break from the wet sanding. I just want to get this paint down so it starts drying and we can clear coat it later. I'm going to be using just a little touch-up pen. Didn't really want to mask off entire little scratches. This is the largest one we have, but everything as small as little chips like this that are developing rust. We've got that little guy up there. We also have to do some paintless dent repair in those two circles. So we'll pull that kit out and try to pull those dents, and we'll go around and address these little guys just using a Duplicolor paint pen. Gonna take some 600 grit, sand those down. We'll apply the base coat, then we can sand it down flat, flush with the surface, clear coat, and rinse and repeat. Then we'll go around and do our polishing. You ever get so overwhelmed with something that you just feel like you want to scream? That's where I'm at right now. I am absolutely just total crunch time right now. I leave for school this week, junior year of college, which, to be honest, I'd love to just stay here and work on cars, but gotta go learn some other things in school. We'll see if they're important or not. Where we're at right now, I have done a few little touch-up areas with the paint pen. It's working pretty well. It's not an exact match, I don't think, but it's good enough. It's definitely going to do its job of protecting the body from rust, and again, it's a 2005, so I'm trying not to beat myself up too much about how this looks. It's definitely a lot better than before. This was completely rusted before and was just going to continue to rust. So I'm glad we're at least protecting it. We got these two dents on the roof out with the paintless dent repair, which I'm pretty stoked about. This one's still slightly noticeable, but a hell of a lot better. And that giant dent in the roof pulled that sucker right out, so I'm really happy about that. While we're looking at the roof quickly, we do have to put this weather strip back on. For whatever reason, it came in the bed of the truck. So I got some Lexel adhesive. It's just clear waterproof adhesive. We're gonna line that whole track with it. Drop that sucker in after giving it a cleaning. That should be all good. I'm gonna start buffing and polishing all of the areas that we wet sanded. And I did wet sand down to 3000 grit, which is pretty fine. So hopefully buffing should go pretty easily. We'll get the fender flares back on. I did order new clips. Found these suckers on Amazon, like a 30 pack of them. Hopefully that's enough to replace all the broken ones. We'll replace those, get the fender flares back on, and I'll see you guys then. Well, we got a hell of a lot done on the Tacoma this episode. Thing is looking a hell of a lot better. All 4 fender flares are back on with new clips. I'm really glad I got those clips, and I'm also just making a side note. Toyota designed things so well for 2005. I was just looking at the little bed track system where you can move these loops around. Like, I love this system from 2005. I love how these fender flares mount up. It was really easy and they mount up seamlessly, which is beautiful. But anyways, progress update. We got all 4 fender flares on. We have our paint work done down at this rocker here. So we got that hole all patched up, painted up. Of course, the bed corners was a huge success. Completely rebuilt this corner of the bed right here. Same thing over on the other side. Completely redid this bed corner as well. I pulled off this cracked window shield cover. I do have a replacement in, but it's not the right match, and I don't really want to pull all 4 because that adhesive is super strong. So I'm just gonna get the same brand and replace that one. Moving back to the tailgate. Look at that. We actually have a real tailgate with the protector installed and this big panel back on with all new hardware. So it's actually well secured now. We straightened out the tailgate, so this protector actually fits on here perfectly. Got our new handle and our new latches on either side. I did hit both sides of the truck with the dual action polisher just to spice it up a little bit. It does still have scratches if you look closely in the light. It still has a lot of scratches. Someone definitely wheeled this off-road, but it looks a lot better. Hit the taillight a little bit, clean this sucker up. I'm looking forward to polishing up those headlights and hopefully restoring them instead of replacing them. But this thing's really coming back together. I'm happy with it. You know, the paint job could have been better. I could have given myself more room to fan out. That was the biggest lesson I've learned during this job. And I hope you guys take away from that. If you ever take on a paint project like this, just make sure that you have enough room to work and really blend the paint well so that you don't have little areas like this. Anyways, that's gonna wrap up this episode of the Copart rebuild. She definitely still needs some more work, some more maintenance, but I think we're gonna have a solid rig after this. As always, if you have any comments, questions, or suggestions, leave them down in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you next time on JD Cars.